You're listening to our free podcast, The Screw Loose Juice. But this is just a taste. If you want the all access pass to Rare Americans, then sign up for our fan club. For just $5 a month, you'll get never seen before music videos, guitar tutorials, articles written by the band, never heard before song demos, and hey, maybe even a little life advice that we've picked up along the way. Your $5 goes a long way in helping us make more music and videos to further reach people just like you all around the world. The link to sign up is on our website, rareamericans.com, and on our Instagram page, @rareamericans. Thanks so much for your support. Screw loose juice! We're here with Michelle Garceau, who is the head of Rare Americans merchandise. And
Hello.
she is a new hire, and she's taking over all of merch, which means, well, you walk us through, or say hello, and then walk us through what that means.
Hi. So I joined Team Rare Americans maybe 6 months ago now. I started pretty much doing just customer service emails. I was going to school at the time, so Jamesy Boy offered me the gig to kind of just handle all their customer service emails. I started there, and then slowly I started doing some more work, and then now I run all of merch, touring and online.
So what does that mean? What goes into online?
Oof. I guess you could say it's conception all the way to delivery.
Okay, but what, like, more specific? There's go into each one.
Yeah, so we start literally at the beginning, like with an idea. Maybe someone in the band or myself or Jamesy Boy has like an idea for something, a launch, or it's in conjunction with an album release. And so we have to just start with design. So we work very closely with our illustrator, George Conkin. He's a really great guy, very, very talented artist. And so we work closely with him to put together designs for all the merch. So, it starts various different ways. It could be that we have an idea for something and we send it over text or email to George, and we're like, oh, I have this idea about, Alfred looking like this, or, with these colors, something very broad. And then he's like, I got you. And then he'll send back designs. And then there's sort of a back and forth process, I guess, to refine the design. So that's kind of like the first step in this whole process is just coming up with designs. And then the next step after that would be like placing the design on a garment. So, picking the hoodie, the style, the quality, the color, all that sort of stuff. And then from there, it's much more about fulfillment. So once we have the product line, put together, everyone's happy with it, the band's happy with it, we get it all printed. So we work with various printers through our printing broker, EMAM. And so he gets kind of all that rolling. And then once we get all our merch, it gets sent to our fulfillment center, who from there fulfills all the orders. So every time a fan places an order online, our fulfillment partner, Robert Chantry, he gets those orders and then puts them together, and bam.
And then
the fan receives the order.
What about when it comes to the marketing side of it? When it comes to actually, like, how are we going to get people to buy this, or why will people be excited about it?
Yeah, that's what we're, I guess, constantly trying to do better with, right? So right now, we pretty much just use our own social platforms for that. So I would say for that part of the process, once we kind of have the line together, and we know what products are going to launch on our store, then I would say I work much more closely with Duran on figuring out how we're going to tell all the fans through, whether that's Instagram or YouTube, how we're going to tell all the fans about this cool new product that we have on our store. For example, the Jamesy Boy jersey. Duran did all of the graphic design for that. So everything you saw up on the store, all the pictures and the photos of James with, like, the Jamesy Boy jersey on it, Duran made all of that.
Nice. And that process usually also starts with an idea of, okay, how are we going to roll this out? How do we make the most, encapsulating type of thing that you're like, wow, I really want this. Like,
Yeah.
so for example, for the You're Not a Bad Person launch, which was really successful, we had this tour that was called the Screw Loose Zoo Part 2 tour, because we'd already been to the States once, but didn't really like it, and ticket sales weren't flying. So the idea was, okay, let's rebrand this tour and relaunch it with this album that we had coming, You're Not a Bad Person, It's Just a Bad World, and we can do the merch collection with this. So now, opposed to trying to use up your limited Instagram and YouTube airspace with 3 completely unrelated things, we can now make them so they're totally connected with ticket sales, a merch collection, and an album, all with the same name, the same theme, etc., etc. And now they all work very nicely together. So that, I think, was a big reason for the success of the launch.
Totally. And it helped us because our messaging was more straightforward. It was pretty much like, hey, go buy your tickets to the show. Oh, also, we have this new merch. Buy it so you can wear it to the show. Everything kind of all fit together nicely like a little puzzle. So it worked well. And then for that, we also did the USB stick promo, which is an idea we all kind of came up with together, which, pretty much everything, if the fans don't know who are listening to this, everything that happens with Rare Americans happens with the team. Like we do everything. No one's doing any of this for us. So that USB stick, if any of you listening got one of those, that whole idea was just us sitting in a room being like, okay, like how can we get more sales? And I mean that in a positive way. Like, we're trying to give something to the fans too, I think, that they like and love. And we got actually quite good feedback on that at some of the shows on this tour so far.
We did, yeah. It was cool. Well, it was all like stuff that you weren't seeing anywhere else that gave you more context to the songs and to the videos and to the album in general. And, for people who are genuine fans, they want to know that stuff, right? So, I think that was a really good example of just putting together a really solid idea and then having a great execution. And also, we wrote like pretty much a calendar of what we were going to post when, how we were going to roll this out. And I think by having like a really good plan ahead of time and then just executing of the plan, it worked great.
It did work great, yeah.
And also, I think that the designs were awesome, and the garments themselves were quite good as well. Which is big, because when you receive something and you open it and it comes in the mail, you want that to be like, oh my God, this is my favorite hoodie, because then you're much more likely to go ahead and purchase something else in the future. And also with, I would say, shipping was a big one, because that was one of our biggest issues over the last year or even year and a half was fulfillment, because we had a totally different partner. It was a little bit more unreliable. And with COVID and the delays and losing things and international shipping, I remember we sent all of these, what were they, CDs, I think, to the UK, and like 200 of them got lost.
I remember that, yeah.
Literally, no one from the UK post could tell us where these were, and they were just vanished from thin air, and there was like 200 packages, and really, we have to eat the cost of that, because we either have to ship one out or we have to issue a refund, and we're not getting the money back for the product. So fulfillment was a big issue, because people just had to wait so long, which is such a terrible experience. So we knew we had to switch fulfillment partners, and then by finding someone who is much more reliable, who does Kendrick Lamar's and all sorts of different, Willow and Jaden Smith, I think, as well. It's like, you just kind of knew that he was much more pro. So now,
totally,
as soon as an order comes in, it's shipped out right away.
Pretty much immediately. So that's nice, because we can tell all the fans too, like, hey, moving forward, if you order something from our store, it'll be much quicker than it was in the past.
Totally, yeah.
And then now we're even working on getting UK fulfillment. So that's something we're working hard on getting done, hopefully before the end of this year, so that any UK and Europe fans who buy merch don't have to spend, tons of money on shipping like they do now. Which, if, people listening to this don't know, we don't actually, it's not like we're charging more for shipping. We pretty much just charge what it costs us. It's that expensive to ship overseas, which is unfortunate.
What about the future of merch, do you think that there's going to be more designs? Do you think there's going to be different types of products? Do you think there's going to be, where do you see it heading?
Oof. I think, you know what? I think Rare Americans has so much merchandising potential that the sky's the limit. It's almost like I don't even know how to answer the question because I think the possibilities are pretty much endless, especially with all like the characters who, once a music video is released, kind of take a life of their own. Like this character Red, for example, now that I don't think anyone in the band would have predicted would have had such an impact on, the RA fan base, but she did. So even then there, it's like, okay, like now we can do a t-shirt with Red or a Red plush doll, it's pretty much endless. And I think that moving forward, we will only get better and better at running our merch business and putting more stuff out there for everyone.
Yeah, for me, I think I would definitely like to get a wider variety of inventory and products. So I think doing things like the different types of dolls and toys and pillows and blankets and candles and mugs and things like that. And then the next one to me would be custom manufacturing. And I think that that's where we need to get to as quickly as possible. And for those of you who don't really know what we're talking about, typically bands, what they do is they will purchase wholesale supply from some sort of brokerage. So that means they're a certain brand of shirt that already exists, whether that's Bella Canvas or that's Independent or Fruit of the Loom. Gildan. And you're essentially just taking that inventory, buying it at a discounted rate, and then you're just slapping your logo onto that shirt, and then you're selling it kind of as your own product. But if you look at kind of the next level of like when you go, whether it's Adidas or Nike or it's a brand that I thought was pretty cool that came from YouTube was a brand called Teddy Fresh. All of those companies are custom manufacturing overseas. So they're essentially actually making their own new products, meaning, if you want one sleeve that's blue and one sleeve that's red, you could do that. If you want a certain type of fit or a certain type of material, you can do that. But the trickiest part about custom manufacturing is you need to get essentially a factory or an agent overseas when there's a big language barrier. It's very far away. You need to send them like a sample of something that you want them to essentially not copy, but, get a reverse engineer and get a really good start on, okay, I understand you want this hoodie to be like this and to fit like that and to use these materials. And then they essentially reverse engineer it. They build their own kind of prototype, send that back to you all the way overseas. You have to look at it, put it on, make your adjustments, say what you like and don't like, send that back. Then they do another adjustment to it, send you another one. And that's only for one product.
Totally. It's like a back and forth process until you really get what you like. And then you have to do that for all your sizes too, right? To make sure that the sizing
is true to North American
exactly,
sizes,
and is accurate, right? Like the difference between a small and a medium and large isn't, disproportionate. So it's a lot of work to do that, but I think it, in the end, it means having a better product and also a product that you probably as an artist like more because you've literally engineered it to fit exactly how you like. So
and customize in any way you want.
Totally.
Like,
different colors.
I think another one that's pretty cool that I've been following is Bogey Boys. It's Macklemore's clothing line, and it's more like centered around golf kind of, but he's got a lot of cool products, a lot of pants, a lot of different shirts, some sweaters. I think the way that he's marketed it is also really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of trying to follow like almost the Macklemore path, because for those of you who don't know, Macklemore is totally independent. He's got a very small team. It's very similar to us. His wife is the one who kind of runs this whole business, and they're the ones literally doing everything from marketing the music to directing the music videos to making the merchandise to being in charge of their fulfillment partners. He really is like a small business himself, which is super cool. But that means he has the ultimate control and can make all decisions and make decisions quickly and take different risks that being on a label or something doesn't allow you to do. So I feel like he's like almost like the gold standard for what we want to do.
We do reference him a lot and look up to him in a way because, you know, they kind of, whatever, how many years ago before his hit thrift shop, him and his girlfriend at the time were pretty much doing what we're doing now. And I guess the cat's out of the bag. In case anyone didn't know, I am James's girlfriend also.
Oh, I didn't know we were going to mention that on this podcast.
Well, there you go. I did.
There you go. You did. All right. I was going to keep that a secret. I guess not.
It's out there now. For everyone who didn't know. Lil Misha.
So that's kind of how you got thrown into this whole thing, because you were kind of helping out with just various different things, and then you were doing a job that you didn't really like as an occupational therapist. And so you came on board.
Yep.
And you've done a really good job. Let's talk about quickly tour merch.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to bring that up because I was thinking in my head, that's kind of like a separate job almost from online merch. So, yeah, I would say my job is very much twofold. There's like the online merch, which is its own thing, you know, like e-commerce. And then tour merch is like a whole other beast. It's, you know, it's a lot more logistics based, I would say. But yeah, kind of to give a little bit of context, the process starts the same as online merch. So you go through the same kind of, you know, path. You start with designs and you go, okay, like what do I want this tour merch to look like? Because it does have to be completely different, at least in my opinion.
Totally does.
And the band's opinion than what's on the online store. It's much cooler when you come to a show and there's, you know, a whole host of exclusive merch that you've never seen before online. So that's definitely how we like to do things. So yeah, you start with the designs. We, again, work very closely with George Conkin, our in-house illustrator, who pretty much does all designs. And then there's a back and forth process. We pick the garments again, we put the line together, and then from there it's a little bit different because we're not sending the merch to our fulfillment center to get fulfilled, right, to any one customer. It's all drop shipments. So we have to pretty much predict how much merch we're going to need and how much merch is going to fit in our trailer that we have, you know, behind our tour bus. So it's a lot of guesswork, I guess, right now, just because we haven't toured that much. Once you're a band that's toured for many, many years, you have back data to look back on, and you can be like, okay, like this is how much merch we sold in this market. We probably...
Here were the sizes we sold in
yeah.
Europe. Here's the sizes we sold in the USA, Canada.
Mm-hmm. So you can better predict, I guess, what sizes and how much you'll need for any given market. But right now it's a lot of like... pretty much like scrambling. It's like, okay, like we sold out of all this, like now I need to ship more down the road. But what's interesting with touring is that you're always on the move, right? We're never in a city for more than 2 days at most, right? So you have to make sure that wherever you ship merch to gets there before you arrive, because the worst thing would be you miss the shipment and then now that shipment is chasing you on tour. That's like not good.
Very expensive.
Very expensive. So...
And then the other thing is you also have to sell the merch. So you need to hire and bring on someone who is good at selling, who's good at interacting with people, who is also very organized, because you have to every single night, as we owe venues money every single night, essentially, especially when you play all ages shows like we do. The venues get less money, essentially, in liquor sales. Mm-hmm. So they make up for that by taking a percentage of your merchandise, and that usually ranges from anywhere from, 5 to 20%. And that means that you have to be extremely organized. So every single product that comes in that night into inventory needs to be accounted for, and every single product that's sold also needs to be accounted for. So at the end of the night, when you're settling up with the venue, you can give them a very detailed breakdown of exactly how much product you sold, within breaking down by individual product, and then ultimately what you have to pay them at the end of the night. And they even break it up further from soft goods, which is essentially anything that's clothing based, hoodies, t-shirts, toques, hats, etc. And then vinyl and CD are hard goods, essentially, and typically they don't take a percentage of that because it gets complicated when record labels and distributors also take a piece of vinyls and CDs. So you have to be very, very, very organized, and also you need to know this stuff for when you're bringing more inventory for the next day and the next show. You need to know exactly what's available to you in your trailer, and so you're not hunting and pecking around for, oh my god, I need extra larges in this design. Are they in this box? Are they in that box? I don't know. Do we have any? It's when you are very organized, you know exactly. Yes, I have one more box of extra larges. They're at this part of the trailer. I can easily access them, because also things happen quickly. Like, for example, I think in Chicago, we were just in Chicago last night, which was our biggest show of this tour. We ended up blowing through a lot of merchandise. So that happens that during a show, you could be like, holy smokes, I didn't bring in enough larges in this shirt. I got to run out to the trailer. I got to go get 20 more of these things and bring them in immediately, or else we're going to lose sales. So you just have to be so diligent and organized in order to, really sell as much. And also, you never want to let a fan down. Mm-hmm. If someone really wants to buy a hoodie and you're like, oh, I don't think I have the size, and they're just so disappointed, that just sucks. It's totally bad for us and bad for them.
Yeah.
So.
No, I would say that's like the best and worst part about the job, in my opinion. I love selling to the fans. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole day when I get to just meet all the fans, and they're so happy to be there, and they tell us at the merch booth, all their stories, like why they came to the show or how long they've been a fan, how long they drove to get to a show. So it's really, really fun. But the flip side of that is, you're right, when we run out of inventory, it actually it takes a toll on my emotions. Like 2 shows ago, it was the show before we got our shipment in Chicago, so we were running real low on merch. And to have to tell fans like, oh, we don't have this in your size, or, this is all we have left, it really sucks. I really don't like that at all.
A couple people came up to me and said, oh, I wanted to buy a hoodie, but they didn't have it, or they're out of hoodie. You guys are out of hoodies. And I was like, oh, man, that sucks.
It's not like at that point, like I think I'm kind of like a businesswoman in the sense that I really do try my best every night to sell as much, to support the band, of course, because, actually this is something interesting that people might not know, but merchandise is like what runs the ship at this size or level of band.
Yep. Yeah, essentially how that works is a venue, when you're on the come up and you don't have a lot of touring data for how many tickets you can sell, a venue or a promoter together, they will give a band a guarantee. So that means whether you sell 50 tickets or you sell out the show, that you're getting the same amount of money no matter what. And for them, when you're a new band, that guarantee is low.
Because they're taking a risk on you.
Because they're taking a risk that, okay, I have to rent you my venue. I have to hire security to run the show. I need to hire a sound person, a lights person. I need insurance for everything in case something goes wrong. So the venue and promoter have hard costs, and they're taking a risk on, hey, I have no idea if you're going to sell 10% of the tickets or sell this thing out. So I can only offer you this much money as a guarantee. So that means that, when you're new and you're not getting big guarantees up front, you need to make up for that revenue with merchandise.
Which we do.
Luckily. We do, yeah. With us, it's great because, I think our fans are true fans. Mm-hmm. There's, I think, different if you're a band who had, or an artist who had one big hit or something, but no other songs that people really cared about, and maybe you end up at the show, you're probably not lined up for merchandise because you're really there just to kind of hear that one song. I think with us, it's different. It seems like our fan base is they're real fans.
It's like the opposite. We have a lot of fans who love all the music, but still not that one hit.
Yeah, we don't really have the hit, but that means that they do want to line up for merch. Totally. And they want to be a part of the community. So for us, merchandise is really what allows us to be able to tour, and it's a big revenue generator for us. So that's why we're really appreciative of everybody who supports us and buys merch. And, hopefully once, the band, now that we've played more and more shows and we've sold more and more tickets, hopefully the guarantees will start to go up as it's a little less of a risk for a promoter and a venue to bring you to their city.
Totally. You've proven that, you can sell this many tickets in the market. So they're more willing to be like, okay, like I know this band will do well and I'll make my money back on them.
Totally, yeah.
But right now, merch really is running everything. And I'm pretty upfront about that, like the fans who come up to me and are like, oh, I'm spending my whole paycheck on this. Like, they're appreciative because I do tell them, I'm like, like the band really appreciates it. They don't take this for granted that you're spending all your money on them. Like, at the end of the day, this is what supports the band and what helps run the ship, right? It's the reason why we're able to do this.
And I really think that it's something we really care about as well. At least I do. And I've always liked clothing, and I've always liked just seeing different cool clothing lines and cool drops from different brands, not necessarily artists, but all sorts of different brands.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just always been a passion of mine. So for me, from day one of merchandise, I always wanted to have the absolute best offering of any artist in the world.
Yep.
And so for me, that's kind of like that's like a no-brainer. And I wouldn't give that up. Even sometimes I know that lots of people that we've worked with have been like, you have too many designs, you have too many things, this is not smart, you should be selling less stuff. And I'm kind of like, I'm gonna follow my gut on this one. I'll listen to you a little bit, but I'll take that into consideration. But I have no interest in selling 2 T-shirts or 3 T-shirts or something and having a real half-assed approach because it's easier on selling. I would much rather have a beautiful looking inventory where you have a large product offering. It's almost like you have a full collection there that you get to pick from. To me, if I'm a fan and I get to go and I see that, and there's, I'm much more inclined to buy 1, 2, or 3 things, especially if I really like the designs, which, the designs are something that we are literally just in the weeds on. We're every single design going back and forth, coming up with ideas with George, critiquing ideas, offering more suggestions until we refine the designs to a place that, we really like them. And sometimes that takes a lot of work, and
it does, yeah.
that could also, there's disagreements, there's there's trial and error, there's just continuing until you feel like you get it right, and that's something I feel like we'll always do. And that's why I feel like it's a big reason that merch is successful.
Absolutely. Like I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily true. I haven't really worked with any other bands, but I can only imagine that most other bands aren't as involved in the everyday for their merch, which actually, again, this is kind of going back to how the industry works, which a lot of people might not be aware of, but artists who are on major labels don't typically care as much about their merch, not because they don't care about what their merch looks like, but because their cut of merch is so small compared to touring and other things that it's not a worthwhile endeavor for them to spend their time on. Online, exactly.
Not touring.
Exactly. So if you look at a lot of, like, I don't know, big pop artists, like, or even rising pop artists, like, their merch selection, it just isn't that good because they're better off working on their next hit or their next song, right? Rather than looking at their merch so that they don't make a cut of, versus us.
I remember
we make all of the money for merch.
When we were on a major label, this is one thing I pushed back hard on, but online sales, I think, we really tried to negotiate this one, and still I think they got 85% of online sales, and we only got 15.
Crazy.
So at that point, it's like, why spend so much effort? I mean, it sucks because I'm the type of person, I was like, I wanted the fans to have a great experience with merch just like music, so I was doing it anyway because I wanted to sell great things to our fans and I knew it would make a difference. But it just sucks when you're like, why am I putting this much effort and we're not making anything?
Totally. It's like now we've been reinvigorated with life. Like, yes, we have to do more work and we do things on our own, but everything we do has an impact on the band now, and we control every single creative decision. So, yeah, it's a really cool position to be in, I think, and I think everyone's also thankful for that at the end of the day.
Totally. All right. Well, I feel like we've.
Actually, I do want to say one last thing.
What's that?
I want to give whoever is listening to this, however many of you, a heads up on what's coming in the future. I feel like they deserve a sneak peek.
Great.
Into what we're working on right now. So, before the end of the year, we will be launching some exclusive Christmas merch. So keep an eye out for that. It's in the works right now, and I think some of the products we're going to be putting up are going to be really cool.
Totally
Different and stuff we've never done before, and just some things that I think the fans will really like. So keep an eye out for that. And then coming right into the new year, we're also there's a big project that's coming out, an RA project. So there's going to be some merch with that as well, and I think that merch is also going to be really, really cool. So there's a lot coming in the next little while.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep. Next year is going to be jam-packed with all sorts of good music, cool videos, and merch to follow. So.
Merch galore.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
You're listening to our free podcast, The Screw Loose Juice. But this is just a taste. If you want the all-access pass to Rare Americans, then sign up for our fan club. For just $5 a month, you'll get never-seen-before music videos, guitar tutorials, articles written by the band, never-heard-before song demos, and hey, maybe even a little life advice that we've picked up along the way. Your $5 goes a long way in helping us make more music and videos to further reach people just like you all around the world. The link to sign up is on our website, rareamericans.com, and on our Instagram page, @rareamericans. Thanks so much for your support.